The Mac and Pete Project.
We made it.
Barely.
It's over.
Thank God.
So I
I
wanted to bring this up earlier this season, but in addition to not knowing how Star Trek works, the writers don't know how space exploration works. Because what I
No.
wanted to bring up earlier was, do you remember who piloted Apollo 11? It was astronaut Mike Collins. Do you remember who stepped on the moon?
Oh, yeah.
It was Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. The pilot didn't get to walk out, and go exploring and find anything. So I found that really weird that Rene Picard was the pilot and the one who's going out and doing science as well.
Yeah.
Next thing is, how stupid do they think we are of how astronauts get ready to go in a rocket? In this episode, we see them getting dressed like 15 minutes before takeoff.
Did my donations not buy me 5 minutes of FaceTime?
Of course. They're preparing to suit up.
The crazy woman, she says she's my guardian from space.
It's all right. I'll call someone. Come with me.
Which is not the case.
They made it look like they were catching an Uber. It's like on the day of launch, you get up super early, you get dressed by other people because you can't put your spacesuit on yourself, and then
Because it's heavy.
And then you take a vehicle far away from any other buildings to the rocket, and then you go up the long elevator, and then you spend a couple more hours getting seated into the rocket, strapped in, doing final checks. And this show just made it look like something that's done in 15 minutes. And
yeah,
when you figure out Talon used her camouflage to make herself look like Renee, so Brent Spiner would be too stupid to and killed the wrong person. She struggles and walks out of the building, sees Picard, and they're like right next to the rocket watching it go up.
Look up.
And while all this is happening, the rest of the gang are at Song's lab, and he has these drones that are designed to blow up the rocket. Why does he have drones that could... I mean, yeah, I guess he's the comic book evil scientist.
Superman!
But the guy's a geneticist. He's not into robotics or...
Picture a world free of genetic defects. If I had the power to nudge us in the right direction, isn't that my responsibility?
Let me say it in this way, Pete. This entire season, this entire series is so convoluted that it's beyond the point of understanding or logic, because it's like it's a layer upon layer of chaos, and it just, who can find the origin of anything and how it interconnects, because it doesn't make any sense. And then let's talk about respect. Respect for your audience. If I would have watched the last episode and none of the other episodes, I would have gotten the same exact story and saved myself 9 hours as opposed to 10.
Yeah, and And you have a totally pointless character of Corey, the daughter, who, after she leaves the lab, decides to remotely hack in and delete all the data.
No. No. God damn it!
Hi, Dad.
Corey. Please. What did you do?
Made a new future. For us both.
Wouldn't that have been easier to do while she was still there before she left?
I have no idea. And then she do we want to bring up Wesley Crusher?
Why not? Why not? And then
Because
she gets recruited by Wesley Crusher to be part of the Travelers.
Welcome to the Travelers.
And it turns out the supervisors, like Gary Seven and Talon, are Travelers.
Which makes no sense.
Or appointed by the Travelers.
So I love cameos. I like cameos to make sense. I like that, and if I'm remembering a deleted scene or not, but here's the thing. In Star Trek Nemesis, Wesley Crusher is seen around the table, isn't he?
Yeah, he's seen briefly in the actual movie, and then there's a deleted scene where he has dialogue.
Captain.
Wesley, it's good to see you in uniform again.
Thank you, sir.
Suits him, doesn't it?
You're looking forward to serving on the Titan?
I am very much.
Okay. He's seen briefly in a uniform. When he left, he was not in Starfleet any longer. So what did the Travelers like, hey, I'm back. But also I will give them credit for saying, well, in this timeline or in this reality or I am beyond space and time. Okay, fine. I'll give you that little crumb. But here's the problem. Not everything's interconnected. Okay? These supervisors, the Traveler was a person. It wasn't now there was no hint at it's now like this organization or whatever. That's one. Two, now Q's mortal and can die.
Before we talk about Q, I just want to talk about more dumb Traveler stuff.
Oh, please.
Everything that Talon did in this season directly contradicts everything we knew about the Traveler from TNG. And the Traveler was only in 3 episodes of TNG, and the writers could not have been bothered to go back and check those 3 episodes. You have dialogue between Riker and the Traveler in the very first episode asking, why have we never met anyone from your species before if you're capable of doing this? And he simply responds, we haven't been to Earth yet because we haven't found you interesting.
In all of our history, is there no record of you or someone like you ever having visited us?
What wonderful arrogance. There is no record because we have not visited you before. You've been uninteresting.
Making the supervisors part of the Travelers, that means Gary Seven from the original series. That's a contradiction right there. He's clearly on Earth.
My name is Gary Seven. I am a human being from the 20th century. Captain Kirk, I am of this time period. You are not. You interfere with me, with what I have to do down there. And you'll change history. You'll destroy the Earth. And probably yourselves, too.
We got Talon. She's clearly on Earth.
A single string and a grand tapestry to which I'm not privy.
And then you fast forward a couple more seasons later, where Crusher's having her mental breakdown of a dream where everyone's disappearing and she's trapped in her own thought bubble. The Traveler shows up to help, and they ask him directly, can you go in there and help her? And he's like, I cannot enter her thoughts.
Can you go in and get her back?
No. It is her reality. I cannot enter it
any more than I can enter her thoughts.
What do we see Talon do this season?
Enter people's thoughts.
This should allow me into his mind.
Is that saying that that entrance was technology based? Yes. But if the Travelers had that technology, would he not have used it?
Right.
So that now begs the question, are there abilities that the Travelers use, something that is energy based or any being can use? Because that's what it sounds like, because Wes can do it. And now Cora can do it. Or we're imagining that that's what she will be able to do because she's being recruited. Or is she being recruited because she's going to be a supervisor or another Gary Seven? So that's what I'm saying when I say that the layers are so... I can't tell you how upset I am about this. Because I feel like I'm so upset as a Trekkie, you've wasted my time. Okay? You can't even be bothered to, if you're going to reference something, know what it is. If you're going to write a story about it, know the story. It's hard to believe that these people are professionally paid writers when two yahoos like us who have encyclopedic knowledge about 7 different Star Trek series and can go, no, well, wait, that can't be right.
And when we don't know something, we know where to go look it up.
And we know where to go look it up. And the problem I'm having is all these names are new people that are not... The reason why all of the Star Trek series is, even Enterprise included, before, in the 90s, they all had writers that were shared. And they all had creative consults that were shared because of how complex the story can be. You can make an original story by tying in other stuff. I mean, look at DS9 and Voyager.
Right.
Perfect examples. I mean, DS9 is the best example. Star Trek series there is. Hands down. Because it's nitty, it's gritty, it's thought-provoking. And Star Trek Picard, you've insulted me. And I'm not going to let it go anymore. You should treat Trekkies better. Trekkies are the reason why you are able to make a show like this. That's one. Can you make a show that's appealing to both audiences? Well, by golly, yeah, you can. And 2009 Abrams was an example of that. So, yeah. But yeah, I'm very disappointed in this because, you know, you were saying you wanted to do like a little video essay. It would be really easy. You could clip one part from episode 1 and the rest from episode 10, because that's all it is. And it really is an hour. It was pointless. Going back in time was pointless. Q could have did this, and you could have done like a that's what this was a tapestry episode.
Maybe. Like
a very bad one, yeah.
And we're also at the same point as we were last season, where we're at the last episode, and we go back and try to reverse engineer this storyline, and it very quickly falls apart and makes no sense. Because basically, we were in a predestined time loop where it has always happened with the Borg coming through, and that part I'm okay with, because that part makes sense. Now, what doesn't make sense is why Q felt the need to send them back in time. He didn't even send them back in time. He just sent them into an alternate reality so they would go back in time themselves.
Correct.
you know, I and I still don't understand how that alternate timeline was created because we have the
The only
predestined
thing that
time loop.
the only thing that makes sense to me is Q. That was Q's dying act. He created an alternate time. He created an entire reality because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. Because there's no time travel does not explain all the inconsistencies.
So I understood that spatial anomaly that was going to blow up half the quadrant or whatever was Q dying, and they needed the Borg to harmonize their shields to protect that section of space.
By our calculations, the only way to protect the quadrant is to harmonize the fleet shields with our own. That is why we needed access to the fleet.
That's why you asked for me. You needed someone with authority you could trust.
I guess we can go ahead and talk about Q just showing up and it's like, oh, good job, Picard. You hid the skeleton key in the wall so your future self can find it.
Yeah, I mean,
and still let your mother die. And I'm like, that was the lesson that Picard was supposed to learn from going back to 2024.
Q had been the most consistent character throughout the entire season 2. He had acted like Q. But unfortunately, say again.
Until the last episode, I would say.
Yeah. Now the last episode,
like, what was his motivation through the whole season? Because at the end, you show him trying his best to cause the alternate reality, and he ultimately fails. So,
I mean, his motivation was always mischievous and playful. It had never been teaching of this degree. You know, Tapestry was the only example of him teaching Picard a lesson.
And all good things.
And all good things.
So
but
it's like they combined those stories together to do a 10-hour-long worst story.
And not to mention Wesley Crusher, who wasn't acting like Wes. You know, Wil Wheaton, it to me looked like his podcast. It was Wil Wheaton.
Yeah, that's
he wasn't
mark on his face.
Yeah,
he's like, look at me.
So, Pete, you've seen the first episode of Strange New Worlds. I haven't yet. I'm hoping that we're going to have, and I'm going to assume from you, Pete, are we going to have more to talk about? And is it going to be more positive, do you think?
Oh, I think it's definitely going to be positive. Just to let you know, I got home from work. What was it? Wednesday night, very late. And, it comes out at 1 a.m. my time. I watched Picard and was like, oh, I couldn't believe what I was watching. And then I just, I'm like, what the heck? I'm just going to start Strange New Worlds. And like instantly, it was a 180-degree tonal shift. It's still fresh in my head. And I just, it might be the best pilot for a Star Trek show ever.
Oh, wow. That's, in the times that we are living, that is heavy praise.
Yes. I mean, previously, I probably would have said Deep Space Nine or Voyager would have been the better pilots with like TOS and TNG right behind those. And I don't know where to put Enterprise, but anyway.
That one was an odd one.
But it was...
So we don't want to get too much into Strange New Worlds, but I just want to say that...
We'll wrap this up quick. Because so they just let Rios live in the past.
I'm staying.
You know you can't do that. The timeline.
I never fit, Nothing stuck.
Yeah.
And it's like, very first episode, it's like, oh, you can't take that phaser or comm badge with you, butterfly effect.
can't bring that with you.
This?
Yeah.
Why not?
Because we're 400 years in the past. You have to look out for butterflies. If you lose that, Q won't be the only one breaking the timeline.
I'll be careful.
Because if this was a predetermined past that was going to happen anyway, okay, that picture of Rios would have been in Guinan's bar.
It probably was in the first episode, and we didn't look at it. So
Maybe I don't know. I don't think that they were that good enough to think of that.
I think
This whole thing is like a fly by the seat of their pants, and then at the end they go, "How are we going to tie this all together? Oh, let's make it like the first episode."
And it's like, and you think, I think her name was Teresa, the doctor. You think she would have been like, whoa. Why can't we go with you to the optimistic future instead of living in this hellhole?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, there's going to be a World War III in a few years.
Yeah. And then, oh my goodness. And then they all get back to the Stargazer. And then, Picard tells them, "Oh, let the Borg do what they need to do. I trust them. I trust Jurati." And then he's like, 7, you have the most experience with the Borg. You should be captain. Consider this a field promotion.
Considering you know more about the Borg than anyone else on the ship, 7, by my authority, consider this a field commission.
Hail the fleet.
And then she sits in the chair and says one thing. Gives one command.
The Admiral has authorized full control by the Borg Queen. Tell them do not resist.
And I'm like, oh, that's because Rafi said 2 episodes earlier.
Listen to you. You sound like a captain. You should have joined Starfleet.
Try.
You would make a good captain.
Yeah.
When she immediately says, we're not going to survive this, we're all going to die.
Janeway, post-Janeway Federation apparently is super racist to Borg, and that's why she couldn't join Starfleet, which is utterly preposterous. Yeah.
And then, Eleanor is magically alive.
We copy realigning now and Rafi?
Eleanor?
I forget.
I think that was the foreshadowing of I might have, because Rios isn't coming back, a little bit at something extra.
Yeah.
That
was the get. I forget which one of us said it. One of us said he was going to stay dead, and the other one's like, no, he's going to come back to life.
I don't.
It doesn't really matter at this point because I don't care.
It doesn't matter because apparently they're all gone anyway. Because next is Picard season 3, Return to TNG.
Yeah, and it looks like it's just going to be 7 and Raffi coming along. So.
And they could have got rid of Raffi. So. Yeah, I'm the best part of this whole season was the end, because now I don't have to watch it anymore.
Yeah. Stay tuned for my video essay, which will be very painful to make.
I don't envy you this task. Next time?
Yeah, it's see what's out there. Oh, one second. Did Q and Picard actually hug before he died?
See you out there.